If you feel Zillow's heavy-handed attempt to use their market power to force agents like you to list on Zillow within 24 hours is anti-competitive, you can let the DOJ know. And that right there is from the CEO of Homes.com, Andy Florance. It is the postscript to his letter to the real estate community that he just issued in response to Zillow's new rule that any home on Zillow must be listed on the MLS within 24 hours. If you're going to take a pocket listing or if you're going to delay marketing of that listing, you are banned from Zillow permanently for the life of that listing under your brokerage. And the only way it can then reappear on Zillow is if it's listed with another brokerage. The portal wars are at it again. Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown. Let's chop it up, guys.
Yeah, I wonder if this is, I wonder how Rich Barton feels about Andy Florance making that statement.
Oh, Rich Barton is loving it.
Oh, Rich Barton's like, he's on some yacht right now.
It's like a checkmate.
Yeah.
He turned it over to Jeremy Waxman, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that seat has changed hands a lot over the last couple of years.
Was it Spencer Raskoff?
Yeah,
He is now with Match.com or
yeah, I see you.
Or Tinder. Which one? He went,
really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so funny because he's like posting all these videos about like using the Match interface and stuff.
Huh.
It's pretty
Match
funny.
with your house. Is that what we're going to start doing now? We're going to come with a Match application for your
We've
house.
always thought that was a good idea. Yeah, he's with Match, CEO of Match now. So anyway, but yeah, this is crazy for Zillow to come out with such a heavy-handed take. Let's give a little backstory on what happened.
Go ahead, Jay. Anybody?
Well, I don't know the backstory. I'm trying to, get this all in my head here. So basically, if I have a seller that doesn't want to go on the MLS, that wants me to sell it for 30 days, then 30 days later, he wants to go on the MLS, then it won't go on to Zillow.
Correct.
Is that what?
Correct.
And it would permanently be off of Zillow.
During the life of your listing, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And that is one of the use cases. So, okay, Clear Cooperation was under attack. NAR came out, in March and basically upheld Clear Cooperation. We know that the CEO of Compass has been pushing hard to eradicate it. And the reason why is because Compass has this exclusive inventory. And if you look at the inventory, it's just going up over time and climbing. Robert Refkin, the CEO of Compass, said to Business Insider recently that half of all of their sellers are choosing the pre-marketing through Compass. So they're amassing this private network of listings.
Yeah, exclusive.
And it's exclusive.
I mean, what's the point of pre-marketing? Pre-marketing is to sell it to your own agents, right? So that they make both sides of the commission.
I mean,
so it's kind of
an inner office pocket listing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Testing the market, getting market reaction, testing positioning, testing pricing. I can think of a few reasons why you would want to do that.
But wouldn't you want it everywhere to where all buyers are?
I think most sellers would. But what NAR said is we're going to uphold Clear Cooperation, but we're going to give these kind of exemptions to Clear Cooperation. So one of them was the delayed marketing, where you could delay the marketing of that listing. So maybe the seller is not quite ready for people to be walking through the home, but they're ready for it to be put online to kind of generate some interest. And if that happens, you're done. You can't go on Zillow.
Yeah,
how is Zillow going to know that?
I was going to say that's always been my question. This is how are they going to know? And not only that, like how deep are they going to go? Because Zillow has a partnership with Opendoor. In all technicality, you can, as I see it, you submit your house to Opendoor. That's a very small micro audience, but it's one buyer that's going to buy. Technically, your house is being marketed and offered by putting it into their platform to get a cash offer.
I think that the idea is publicly marketed. So if you submit to one buyer, I don't think that's a public marketing of your listing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, public would usually be more than one.
Yeah.
But what Compass does is they're putting it out to their agents, but they're also publicly marketing it to their databases and stuff. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So as like, hey, this listing's available, you can see it. Oh, because you're part of my database, you can see this property. But if there's somebody that's not a part of a Compass database, then they don't see that property.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, to me, it's an obvious play because one of the things that we didn't mention yet is Redfin is also jumping in, right? Glenn Kelman has jumped in and said basically they're following suit, that they're not going to advertise the property as well if it's not being publicly broadcasted, as well, or coming soon. And I don't even know what, Kelly, you know more, but that caveat. To me, this is a clear play against the Compasses because, hey, if you're going to use this exclusive inventory to capture buyers, right, leads, which is the game that they're all in, they're not playing nice.
Yeah.
And that's
they're protecting their own portal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what. So this letter that Andy Florance penned is pretty. I mean, it's chock full of pretty crazy statements. So listen to this one. Zillow's lead diversion model is anti-consumer and anti-agent. Just last week, I listened to a focus group with home sellers who believed that when a buyer clicks the contact agent button on their listing in Zillow, they're contacting the listing agent. When they found out that wasn't true and that their home was being used as bait to funnel buyers to competing agents, they were outraged. One seller exclaimed, "Holy hell!" Another said, "What the bleep?"
That's truth. And I mean, the fact that people are shocked by that is actually a little shocking to me because this has been going on for at least a decade.
But they may not be selling their house, be selling a house very often.
Yeah,
so they don't
I guess
really know
that's
how it
true.
works.
I mean,
what
how do they think that Zillow's making money?
Well, I think what they think is that they make money from ads.
From ads?
I do think that that's what people probably think. In fact,
Gotcha.
what do you think people think Zillow, how Zillow makes money? Do you think that they think it's from ads?
I mean, I don't see any ads
commission
from Zillow.
sharing?
Do you see any ads on Zillow?
Yeah, when you go
I
on
see
Zillow,
some commercials
you'll
for
see
them
some
and
ads.
whatnot. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about on Zillow.com.
Yeah.
When you go to look for properties, I don't normally
just Redfin.
see ads.
Redfin, I see ads, but no, not on Zillow. I don't typically see ads.
Because I'm on Zillow a lot, so.
But now I'm
Probably
like,
more than I should
pulling
be.
up a listing to try and see if I can have an example of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
and to our point, like things that we can all publicly see. I mean, Zillow. I mean, obviously, the last couple of years, the valuation of the company is fluctuated dramatically. But I think their valuation is roughly back $10 to $15 billion is what their valuation is. And so again, that doesn't happen without having crazy revenue, and that revenue comes from selling agents leads. That's their lion's share of revenue.
So most people think, hey, I'm clicking on this contact the agent, and it's going to that listing agent, and they're like, hey, I want to see your listing. But instead, it's going to some complete other agent that paid $5,000 to basically get those leads and say, oh yeah, I can show you that house, and then they charge them a commission, and there you go. But now you can go directly to the listing agent and buy the house. Well, I guess you have to have an agent, or you could ask the listing agent to represent you for a low price and buy it directly from the listing agent.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using Zillow, you have to actually, what you have to do is go down and say, who's it listed by, right? Because they have to show it on
Yes,
Zillow.
yeah.
And then you got to Google their name and make sure you're getting the right place. And usually, if you're a good agent, their phone number's there, and then call that agent directly. But consumers don't know that. It's hard. And it's like, hey, they just want to click contact the agent. Yeah, I'm interested in this property.
Yep.
So, but then, okay, I'm going to just kind of pose something else here. What do we know about online leads is most of them don't even get a return phone call.
It's wild.
And if you are a buyer or even a seller and you're on these sites and you submit a contact form, you want to get a return. You're seeking someone to call
Absolutely.
you, reach out. And so maybe there could be an argument that the Zillow agent is more likely to call you back and give you better customer care. So maybe you don't really want that listing agent. Like, I would venture to say that if you contacted that listing agent, half the time you wouldn't even get a response.
Yeah, because there are a lot of times buyers will contact the listing agent. They'll use the listing agent to go see the property, and then they'll go to their buyer's agent or their friend or their mom or their cousin or whatever and say, hey, can you write an offer for me? Right? And then so basically they just use that listing agent to go look at the property and go, okay, yeah, I like it. Now I can make an offer.
But with the new buyer broker rules in place, or buyer broker agreement, I should say, in place, some of that could probably be curtailed.
Yeah, I mean, one-day showing agreements, right?
I mean, like if I show it and you buy it, I get paid.
Yep.
I mean, it's a reasonable ask.
Well, and I mean, but procuring cause to me has always been there.
It's a reasonable ask, but are you going to step in the way of an offer? If for some reason that you showed that person, and now all of a sudden the week after you get an offer from another agent,
I wouldn't. I would get it sold. I mean, what do you guys think? Would you step in the way, Elliot?
No, I'd get it sold.
What about you, Keith?
Yeah, absolutely.
You get it sold. How about you, Jay?
I would step in the way. Yeah.
Of course you would.
I mean,
I don't think you would.
No,
No,
probably
you
not.
wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't step in the way. I would just go, yeah, fine, and then I guess we would have to negotiate the commission, right? It's still, if they want the seller to pay for it, I would just tell the seller no.
Yep, that's exactly in today's times. That's exactly what I would do.
Right.
No, I showed it, and so
Cool. You know, write an offer. We're not going to negotiate your commission. Or
But then it's ultimately going to be up to the seller, though.
Yep.
So I don't know if this is just pure coincidence, but it happened twice, which is not a big case study. So we'll just keep that in mind. But we had a property on the market, and we received an offer, last couple months, and this buyer broker was asking for a 4% compensation, which is much higher than average.
Hefty.
And our realtor, when I asked, well, I said, did you ask them, like, where's this 4% coming from? They said that this buyer lead was from Zillow, and they had to pay Zillow a fee, and so they needed to increase their compensation, so it made sense for them. This is what I'm being communicated.
Wow.
That deal, it didn't end up working out. Then fast forward, we got another offer just a couple weeks ago, and it was another one with 4%.
Wow.
I've never had that happen twice, especially on the same listing.
Oh, wow. On the same listing?
And two totally different buyer brokers.
Wow.
4%. And she says, I don't, it's weird. She's like, they're telling me almost the exact same thing as the other person.
Wow.
Is that they have to pay, I think she said
Zillow
a
Flex thing?
50% referral fee.
Yeah, Flex.
And so, they were needing the compensation to be higher, basically, so it made sense for them.
That is just...
And so I'm just like, wow, that's interesting. So I don't know if that's
We're really serving the public
that's a
there.
unanimous thing. I get not everyone's going to operate that way. Ironically enough, we came in talking about Zillow and leads and all that, but hey, you know what? That's clearly a thing, and it hindered the
sale.
The sale both times.
Wow.
I mean, the offer wasn't that great. That was the first and foremost of why it didn't work out. But they were like borderline going back to our agent and saying like they weren't really wanting to negotiate it, and I think they said they'd be willing to come down to like 3.25. That's a weird number too. So and that's even pretty rare.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I was so anyway, I just thought I would share that because I'm like, well, there's pros and cons when you get leads.
Well, that makes my blood boil. And I would venture to say that buyer had no clue that their agent was out there making those demands and saying, oh, I have to pay a referral fee, so the seller needs to pay me more.
Or they stated it as
didn't seem to
normal
think so.
practice, right? They
No.
stated it as almost like, oh, this is normal practice, no big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane.
But I would venture to guess that people are paying more. Sellers are paying more right now, especially in a slower market.
Yep.
Agents are.
They smell blood in the water.
They go, hey, I can get the 4%. I'm gonna get it, right?
Swings both ways, though.
But
That's a
yeah,
pretty rare
exactly.
ask.
When it goes back to a buyer's market, now what's going to happen is
seller's
you're going to or seller's market. Now it's going to be like
1.5%.
We'll pay a percent.
Yep.
And you
Or
want
we'll
it.
pay-
You
no,
want
we'll
it
pay you
because I have
$500.
I've got four.
I can
I
totally
got
see
four
it
other
turning like
offers.
rental action.
I got four other offers, and so you're either going to say, yeah, I'll take it, or
And the buyer's not going to have the cash to do it because they're going to have to pay 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand over list price to get the
Exactly.
property.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit because there's so much breaking news in real estate. It just seems like every day. I mean, this whole the portal wars is insane, and the implications for the industry I think are big. I don't think this is a nothing burger, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the call to arms to out Zillow to the DOJ by Homes.com is insane, and we do know that there was a new appointee to the antitrust division of the DOJ, and this specific Roger Akron or something like that. I don't quote me on his name, but this dude actually was a witness for the Sitzer Burnett case, and he actually has come out and said that it wasn't necessarily the compensation share that was causing the antitrust violations. It was the monopoly of the MLSs. And so I think this is just insane, and we'll see what happens here. But I want to shift gears a little bit because the news that I keep waiting to see, and it hasn't broke yet, is Zillow acquires Opendoor, or such and such acquires, Opendoor.
Oh, yeah.
Opendoor is struggling. Their stock did fall below $1 just last week. I think it rebounded up, and we know that it has to be under $1 for more than 6 months for them to have to do some sort of reverse stock split or something. But let's talk about the likelihood that Zillow acquires Opendoor or someone acquires Opendoor, and what are our thoughts on their business model and how that transforms?
Well, my immediate thought, being the first to jump in the pool here, is they still acquired 15,000 plus houses last year. So
but at what price?
Agreed. But what I'm getting at is the demand by the consumer. The toothpaste is out of the bottle as far as I'm concerned, with it being a viable demand from an instant sell solution to the greater public. Now, can they get it to economically work with their technology and all, employee cost, all of the things that go into it? That remains to be seen. But I also see them continue to pivot, right? Like they just recently came out with the Insights, which is basically a home report that has taken the entire country by storm. Pretty much started by HomeBot. And so now it gives them the ability to keep those cash offers in front of the consumer on a month after month basis and engaging with, their home facts essentially. So I think that, I know I'm being long-winded here, but I think they're still finding their way. To me, the consumer demands are there. They just have to figure out a way to make it efficient enough to make it cost-effective.
They have to figure out what their cash position is. I don't know what their cash position is now, but I thought like a year ago they had about $1 billion in cash, and they're burning quite a bit. So I think there's more likely. I think there's going to be more likely somebody going to be taking on OfferPad. Because I think their market cap is like 40 million now.
I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened
small.
yet. I have to admit, I'm surprised that hasn't even happened.
I mean, they were at $1 billion. They were over or 2 billion.
2 billion,
and their market cap is now like maybe it's like 50 million, but something. It's
I think Karma caught up to OfferPad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I don't know if you guys saw, not to get off topic, but what's going on in the crypto world about the $6 billion liquidity, the freaking stuff. It's like OfferPad, where it's like you see it going up, and it's just a, and you're like, what happened?
Who pulled the rug on
Yeah.
OfferPad?
Yeah, I don't understand because they have a $39 million market cap, right?
That's
what you see right
OfferPad,
there.
yeah.
And I mean, what's their burn? I mean, what kind of money they're burning every quarter?
I could find out. I could go back to their shareholder reports. But hey, did you also hear that Opendoor settled a lawsuit with investors over their suspicious pricing practices? So turns out they didn't have some supercomputer algorithm that priced properties. Turns out the pricing of their properties is done by humans. Shocker. And so they baited all of these investors with this idea that they had this proprietary pricing algorithm.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they didn't.
I remember all the pitches on it.
Yeah. And
You guys do that? Remember that too when they circulated all those AI pitches on it? It was basically a pitch on how it all worked.
And it was all BS.
All BS.
And I can remember us chopping it up on our podcast about, how sophisticated it was.
There's a
and this
big
and
building
that.
in India with a bunch of guys doing this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's no proprietary, algorithm that's driving the pricing. It's not tech driven. It's human driven by and large. Very interesting, right?
Yes.
So that just happened. And that caused their stock to go down.
Tumble more.
Yep.
You've been outed. You were lying.
It's crazy,
You don't have-
crazy time. So so you think it's going to be OfferPad before Opendoor?
I mean, Opendoor's market cap's still like 700 million or something like that. So I mean, and OfferPad's like 39 million. Yeah, I would say that they were.
But who's going to even want to buy them? I mean, is it?
I mean, it would just be the brand.
Place that, yeah.
It'd be the brand. I mean, because if they're able to, buy less or do an offer like a Cash Plus or something and use the OfferPad brand.
Yeah, they still have a platform.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's still money made on the back end somewhere in construction or all sorts of different ways.
Gosh, isn't that wild to think that you can go in and basically buy OfferPad for $40 million?
Oh man, if we had it, I would do it just to see the look. I do a hostile takeover just to see the look on Brian Bear's face,
It could already be happening.
and then I would change the name. I'm kidding.
Oh, you got to cut that out. That's like you can't say that
I
word.
can't say
just
that. I'm not even
illegal.
allowed to say
It's
it.
illegal.
Just bleep it.
We'll get a cease and desist.
Yeah, we probably would.
It's crazy.
That's right. Now it'd be like mano-a-mano fight.
Yeah.
Let's do this now,
A
boys.
more equal playing field.
I don't know about that, but let's not go down that road.
Yeah, I don't.
He's got PTSD.
Yeah.
So do I.
I think that with
yes.
Opendoor's partnerships, and also hopefully with the market being more stable, for lack of a better word, at the particular moment in quarter 3, quarter 4, I think things will look better than they look right now in the housing market. Once the Fed cuts some rates, I think that with their partnerships, as long as they buy responsibly, because that is a big caveat, I think they'll be fine. I think Opendoor will get through it.
I do have a parting thought, and it may be a little bit controversial, but I'm thinking about my roughly 20 years that I've been in the real estate industry. And without a doubt, I can look back, especially the first 10 plus years, where I was, heavy into sales and where we really wanted to put be the megaphone to the marketplace, right? I can kind of hear the Brian Buffini statements of that. And that was putting your house on the MLS, right? And like even where I was trained to talk about the MLSs, it was this superpower, as a real estate agent. And without a doubt, I think it's really important. And I'm looking at this article or seeing it by CNN here where it's like, hey, about 6% of the houses that sell annually are FSBOs. That number stays pretty true year over year, right? It's roughly 5% of the homes that sell on their own and off of the MLS. But I almost think about, as we really look at this, and again, this is the controversial statement. Have we been not lied to? Have we been manipulated as one of the largest sales forces in the entire world, meaning the real estate industry, real estate sales professionals? Have we been manipulated to think that, to empower these roughly 350 MLSs that are out there that circulate that has monopolized, that is now grasping and trying to sink the claws into the right to sell the property as the best and only place for the public, right? Because let's face it, with the rise of the internet, communication is now on the operator. So if you have the ability to get that property there, to get the eyeballs on it, like a Zillow that came in and literally turned all of everything that I just said on its head, Zillow smashes all of the MLSs with traffic. And so again, just something to really to think about, and what the takeaway is off of all of that. I don't know, but it's just a hot take.
Okay, so just some facts that actually FSBOs are at an all-time low. In the 1980s, they were much higher. So in 1981, 15% of all home sales were FSBOs. And in 1985, 21% of all home sales were FSBOs. And so if you look historically at the amount of people that FSBO'd, is actually lower now. And so it would go against that argument that we've been fooled. Although I do think in some aspects, perhaps we've been fooled by our industry leaders. Because see, everyone thinks the NAR was this all-powerful being over the industry. And it turns out it's not. It turns out NAR can say, here's how it's going to be. And it turns out that Zillow can come in and say, no, that's not how it's going to be. And now we're all reacting. And it's like either you're with Zillow on this issue, you're not with Zillow on this issue. And I think that the powers that be, the MLSs, are truly the ones that control the inventory. They control the industry.
Agreed. I mean, most of the MLSs are still feeding Zillow, right? It's the syndication from these MLSs to Zillow that gives the public the right to view all of these properties.
But there's misconception around that because Zillow's a brokerage, so they're entitled to that data feed just like.
Agreed, but that's only happened in what, the last 10 years?
Yeah,
less than 10 years.
It's been more recent. Yeah, for sure. But why has the FSBO percentage gone down? More noise, more choice, more options. People want clarity. People want ease. People want certainty. People want convenience. People want a professional to come in and say,
that's what it is.
Here's how it's going to go down. This is what we do. This is when the photographer comes. This is what it's going to be like to have showings. This is what's going to happen when we get an offer. The CNN article was really interesting. So there's a CNN article that tracked a FSBO that sold their home in Michigan. And this lady who sold her home, she'd lived in it for 25 years. And she had recently purchased a home in another state. So she had been working with a realtor in another state for months and months. And so she kind of felt like she was empowered to go throughout this process on her own. She cites that she used AI to write her listing description. She published her home on Zillow as a FSBO and ultimately ended up getting an offer. But the CNN article also points out another home seller from San Francisco who tried all of those same things and ultimately ended up listing and selling with a realtor because they got frustrated. There were a lot of scam calls. There were a lot of calls from realtors trying to get the listing. And ultimately, he gave up and listed with a realtor on MLS.
And the first agent actually went to real estate school right after she sold her own house, right?
Did she?
No, I'm kidding.
I was like,
that was too easy. Let me go ahead and say.
I trained myself and
I
I'm a
read
realtor.
that article yesterday, so it was just like
I think what you just said for me, like when we go back, because when I was going back and I said like roughly 5%, that's something that like a stat that I've always kept in my head. So that was licensed in 06. So that was just for that forward. I don't know what you went all the way back to the 80s, with the percentages.
Well, the reason why is because I find it so striking that in the 80s when you had no internet,
nothing,
no
more
internet.
Likely.
People
would
sold
drive
FSBO
around more, and then you even had the MLS books.
It's just to me, it's shocking.
Well, I think we were dealing with a different generation of people too.
Yeah.
Those are the people that they were born in the 50s and 60s or even 40s.
They didn't move very far.
They grew up. You did things yourself. And so probably the 90s it seemed like it was very start DIY. Of the change of like.
The .com.
Yeah, you like the do-it-yourselfers started going away.
I think your points of a guide and a practitioner, right? We all want a guide. We all want a pilot. We all want to get from point A to point B safely and know that we're going to get there safely. I think that is awesome because that is what the industry does. They're fiduciary guide through this process. But one other point I want to bring up that you said that I think is paramount is access to the data. So many of our industry, like you said, they called, meaning real estate agents called them, because I forget what percentage it is, but I think it's like over 50% of the houses that end up listing their house on FSBO or not on the MLS end up on the MLS, right? Whether it be some flat fee or et cetera. And is that because the industry has gotten aggressive and we have easy data? Or if you go back to the 80s, it's much harder to find those MLSs and go door knock and how are you going to get a hold of them, et cetera. Now all these things are at our fingertips where I can call you and let you know about my services and how ultimately this is a math problem, not a word problem, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put more money in your pocket. I don't know.
So Elliot, if you could go back, if you could take old school realtor marketing techniques and no technology or today's marketing techniques and technology, which one would you guys choose?
Oh, well, you know my answer. I don't even know what I would do like old school. I mean, other than you just got to lift that hustle muscle on a lot of stuff. But today's we have a cheat code in communicating value proposition to targeted audience, to show the assets or the amenities of said property to a said audience, right? There's just so many things that we have uncovered in our modern times that give unfair advantages.
I go back to the listing book. It was
less competition.
Yeah.
All right, so you take old school.
I'm kidding. I know. I don't even know what that would look like. So, I mean, it'd be pretty archaic.
How about you?
Let me pull out my book here.
Well, I mean, I still think it takes a little bit of both.
Agreed.
Yeah, I do think it takes
Good
a little
answer.
both.
Well, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have anything to add to the conversation, please leave a comment. I will personally reply. Give us a like and hit that notification bell so you're updated of our new episodes.